Okay, so we'll begin on page 18, just paying respects, paying homage to the Triple Gem. And then it would be nice to do the Buddha's words on loving kindness. And then we can, if we can, before we begin, I think John has a request, a dedication.
Yeah, I just request a dedication of the merit for my partner's mother. Her name is Ellen Lai. She passed away on Saturday at the nice age of 96.
Okay, wonderful. We'll do that. Hold her in mind. Okay, so we can begin by bowing 3 times. Yoso bhagava arahang samma sambuddho. To the Blessed One, the Lord, who fully attained perfect enlightenment, Swakato yena bhagavata dhammo, to the teaching which he expounded so well, Supatipanno yassa bhagavato sāvaka sangho, and to the Blessed One's disciples who have practiced well, Dhammayang bhagavantang satamang sasanghang. To these, the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha, Emehi sakare yadharahang aro vitehi abhipujayama. We render with offerings our rightful homage. Satu no bande bhagava sujila parine buddhopi. It is well for us that the Blessed One, having attained liberation, Pachima Janathanukambhamanasa, still had compassion for later generations. Emme sakare dukatapanaka rabunde patikanhatu. May these simple offerings be accepted. Amhakang nikaratang itaya sukhaya, for our long-lasting benefit and for the happiness it gives us. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava, the Lord, the perfectly enlightened and blessed One, Buddhang Bhagavantang. I render homage to the Buddha, the Blessed One. Swakato bhagavata dhammo, the teaching so completely explained by him. Dhammang namassami, I bow to the Dhamma. Supatipanno bhagavato sāvaka sangho, the Blessed One's disciples who have practiced well, Sanghang Namami, I bow to the Sangha. Now let us pay preliminary homage to the Buddha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one. Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one. Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one. We can turn to page 28. Now let us chant the Buddha's words on loving kindness. This is what should be done by one who is skilled in goodness and who knows the path of peace. Let them be able and upright, straightforward and gentle in speech, humble and not conceited, contented and easily satisfied, unburdened with duties, and frugal in their ways, peaceful and calm and wise and skillful, not proud and demanding in nature. Let them not do the slightest thing that the wise would later reprove, wishing in gladness and in safety. May all beings be at ease, whatever living beings there may be, whether they are weak or strong, omitting none, the great or the mighty, medium, short, or small, the seen and the unseen, those living near and far away, those born and to be born. May all beings be at ease. Let none deceive another or despise any being in any state. None through anger or ill will wish harm upon another, even as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child, so with a boundless heart should one cherish all living beings, radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upwards to the skies and downwards to the depths, outwards and unbounded, freed from hatred and ill will, whether standing or walking, seated or lying down, free from drowsiness. One should sustain this recollection. This is said to be the sublime abiding, by not holding to fixed views, the pure-hearted one, having clarity of vision, being freed from all sense desires, is not born again into this world. Okay, so we can take the opportunity to sit quietly. Pardon? No, I should be fine, thanks. See how I do. Yeah, so just taking the opportunity to sit quietly, end of the day, bringing to mind things that are, how to settle the mind, things that help to settle, bring the mind to a place of ease and stability, solidity. One of the things that came up during the tea time Q&A that we have was a theme for meditation, or one of the themes is an image perception of the beautiful. And, it's oftentimes not thought of too much, but, or not, it's not in, not front and center, but it is an important part of the Buddha's path of cultivation, that the mind does need to be really at ease. Of course, one of the things that comes up over and over and over again throughout the discourses and the suttas is that the Buddha repeats it in so many places, and that the happy mind is easily concentrated. So often we put far too much emphasis on either striving, struggling, exerting. And this is all, the Buddha does teach right effort, but it can be pretty grim sometimes. So that learning how to bring to mind a sense of, what allows the mind, the heart to be more happy. And one of the things that the Buddha talks about or encourages is the bringing up of as integral to the developing of samadhi, of the peaceful heart, and stillness, steady stillness within the heart, is what's in Pali called the subha nimitta, but the image of the beautiful, or the sign of the beautiful. And this is not in terms of, well, how can I stimulate more desire, lust, and craving? But it's more, it's more around what brightens the mind, what makes the mind happy. We just chanted the Buddha's words on loving kindness. That is a sign of the beautiful. The the recollection and cultivation of loving kindness. That's something to bring to mind. Again, it's how we shift perception to that which is pleasing, beautiful. I think the breath, rather than trying to think that one has to be controlling it and struggling with it and fighting with it. It's just shifting the perspective to how do I hold it as the beautiful breath, the breath in its beautiful form of just being nourishing, nurturing, uplifting, lightening everything, being the basis for our life and our uplift, just breathing in this beautiful breath, and breathing out this beautiful breath. It changes how we approach this establishing of our continuity of mindfulness and clear comprehension of a awareness and a sense of knowing, and holding it within the sense of beauty. And certainly the mind that is inclines to clarity and stillness and discernment is a beautiful mind. So allowing oneself to enter into that with each in-breath and with each out-breath. It's just holding that in awareness, holding it within that quality of knowing, breathing in, just being present, breathing out, just being present, being with the one who knows, being the knowing. So we can sit quietly and just see what we can do to shift perception, shift that emphasis that we tend to get caught up in, and allow the sense of ease and clarity to establish itself. so we can transition from sitting to requesting the precepts. Before we start, I have to have a quick break and I'll be right back. I'm ready.
Sarva
tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhaṃ saranang gacchāmi. Dhammang saranang gacchāmi. Sanghang saranang gacchāmi. Dutiyampi buddhaṃ saranang gacchāmi. Dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchāmi. Dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchāmi. Tatiyampi buddhaṃ saranang gacchāmi. Tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchāmi. Tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchāmi. Ti sarana gamanang nititaṃ. Anatipata veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from taking the life of any living creature.
I undertake the precept to refrain from taking the life of any living creature.
Adinadana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from taking that which is not given.
I undertake the precept to refrain from taking that which is not given.
Kame sumichachara veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from sexual misconduct.
I undertake the precept to refrain from sexual misconduct.
Musavada veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from lying. Suramereya majapamadatana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from consuming intoxicating drink and drugs which lead to carelessness.
I undertake the precept to refrain from consuming intoxicating drinks and drugs which lead to carelessness.
Imani Pancha Sikapandani Silena Sugating Yanti Silena Bhoga Sambada Silena Nibuting Yanti Tasma Silang Visoda Ye. Great. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang Dhammang Sanghang Namasami. Okay. So I have the opportunity to join you all for First Tuesday Berkeley. Starts up again. The community at Abhayagiri has been on the winter retreat, January, February, March, and we've not been going out and doing any outside teaching during that time. Now we've transitioning back into the sort of quote-unquote normal schedule of the year, so we'll be coming down for First Tuesdays here in Berkeley. Some member of the community. So it's always quite special for us at Abhayagiri to have the opportunity to have 3 months of retreat and be able to focus our attention on the practice, on the training, on the meditation. Having a monastery in the West is it's wonderful in many, many ways, but there is a level of engagement that certainly keeps us busy, and then having just looking after a monastery. There's lots to look after. And so taking 3 months and stepping back into a retreat mode, and then having volunteers from the lay community come and help look after the monastery, the actual physical aspects of the monastery. The monastics will set aside their various duties, and the lay people will look after the office, look after the maintenance, look after the kitchen, and it's a wonderful gift to the community, and it's a great opportunity for the lay volunteers to be in the monastery, because we do try to simplify things as much as possible for everybody. So the lay community get the opportunity to practice along with the monastic community and plug into the schedules that we're having for group practice, and it changes all through the 3 months. Sometimes there's more, sometimes there's less group practice, more opportunity for solitude, but we do have a lot of, it's also a time where there's a lot of teaching being given, instruction. And this year there was quite a large group, larger than any group we've had in the past. It was 11 lay people. So it was, but it was also quite, very harmonious, and very much appreciated the presence of the lay community. You sort of see that sense of the mutual support and mutual encouragement that the lay community and the monastic community have. So it's I think a very fruitful retreat time. And also, Ajahn established the theme of back to basics, and various teachers explored that in different ways. But I think it's just coming back to, what are the fundamentals? What are the foundations? What are the basics that really need to be put in place to really grow and mature and flourish in the Dhamma, in the practice? So I think it was a really skillful theme to explore. And we did it in different ways, and I can't even remember what things that I did. Certainly refuges and foundations of meditation, foundations of mindfulness, foundations of practice. So it's really taking these themes. Also, just I know right view played a big role in the readings and the teachings that many of the different senior monks gave. And so that sense of, I know for Ajahn Chah, one of the things that he would emphasize over and over again. He was a great meditation master in his own right, and incredibly wise. But the theme of right view and virtue, and it was something that you heard more often than anything, because that's if you're going to build anything, you got to pay attention to the foundations and building that solid foundation in understanding and actually how we live, how we engage with the world around us, how do we treat other people, what's our speech like, what are our actions like, what level of integrity are we implementing? Because that also, it really, in terms of like what the theme I brought up for the meditation, sort of the sign of the beautiful. One of the really beautiful things is a life lived with integrity, and is sort of making the mind happy and brightening the mind. It's just this quality of integrity we bring to our life, and that's it's really important. So that there's there's many ways that say the Buddha himself. I think one of the things I remember one time during the retreat, Ajahn was sort of grumbling. I seem to just say the same thing over and over again. And I said, well, actually, the Buddha did that for 45 years. We don't get tired of that. There's this, especially in the Mahaparinibbana Sutta, the Buddha going and visiting. I mean, he already knew he was his life was winding down. He was wrapping up his whole dispensation, his whole ministry that he had established, and then there's in the Mahaparinibbana Sutta, it is just this account of the Buddha going to the different communities and places and teaching and giving instruction, and so often how it's summarized, and he gave instruction and roused at monks and on the themes of 4 foundations of mindfulness, 4 right efforts, 4 bases of spiritual growth, and the 5 spiritual powers, the 5 spiritual faculties, 7 factors of awakening, 8-fold path, and over again. And it's sort of all stuff on a certain level. It's again basic Buddhism 101, and but those are the themes that when we really establish them and explore them, they lay the basis for our growing in clarity and stability and a sense of real brightness of heart that allows for penetration, for real discernment. Because we can't actually think ourselves into wisdom. You can think yourself into a mess. I mean, we do that pretty skillfully. But to be able to allow real discernment and clarity to arise, we have to learn how to settle the heart, still the heart, and it's not through forcing the mind into some kind of rigid concentration. It's allowing the mind to settle on an object of attention that is pleasing. So mindfulness of breathing, to me, has always been very pleasing. It's not to everybody. But there's so many different approaches that can be used. The developing of the meditations on loving kindness, or on the other Brahma Viharas. These are the divine abodings that allow the heart to dwell in real brightness and spaciousness. And that's themes of meditation that are important. The themes of the say asubha practices, the contemplation of the unattractive nature of the body, in the sense of the the 32 parts of the body, where we were talking about it again. It came up in tea time, where and it can be used in many different ways. It's because it's very settling, it's very sobering, kind of leading to dispassion. But certainly that sense of, especially if there's like pain and discomfort, and and you think you sort of, I'm having all this pain, and I say, well, where is the pain? Is the pain in the hair of the head? It's in the hair of the body? Is the pain in the nails, the teeth, in the skin, in the flesh, the sinews, the bones, the bone marrow, bones? So it's the internal organs, the internal fluids. You start separating things out and looking at things in in a way of breaking things apart into constituent parts, and it loses its allure and solidity, and gives the opportunity to give some space in the heart. Contemplating things from the fundamental nature of the elements, that approaching things from, and the elements there's not a scientific analysis into chemical elements. It's the elements of how we experience things, the elements of solidity, the elements of weight, of that which has some kind of mass, the earth element, the water element, the element of fluidity, of cohesion. It's how we experience it. How we experience, say, air element, and the element of movement, of expansion, contraction, the element of supporting. These are the ways that these are classical elements. The element of, say, element of caloricity, the fire element, but it's also heat and cold. Because cold is just the absence of heat. And so it's how we experience heat, how we actually, it's the heat element, that which digests and burns things up. It's sort of fundamental aspects of nature. So stepping out of the personal, it's a great way of stepping out of the identification, personalizing of our experience, which is how we tend to view things. Because what's more important than me? So it's being able to step out of the whole me identification is the opportunity that we have, that's the opportunity for peace, the opportunity for freedom, and seeing things just in their fundamental nature, reflecting on things in terms of the basis of insight is always traditionally spoken of as those insights into anicca, dukkha, anatta, of impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, not self. And, it can sound really trite. Okay, everything's impermanent, unsatisfactory, not self. But, it's just really being able to lift up into the mind these nuances of, say, like with anicca, inconstancy. Nothing's constant. There isn't anything that's really everything, yes, there is this change. or as Ajahn Chah would express it as uncertainty, unsure. This is unsure, it's anicca. Yeah, and it's just, and of course we say it as a truism, and it is true, but to really contemplate it, how it plays itself out and manifests in just really ordinary life. It's like, and sometimes it's in really mundane ways. Sometimes it can be in really dramatic ways. It's like we gathered for tea time and Q&A, and then I had a bit of a break and went over to a little apartment that they have here, and there was Wi-Fi there, so I checked my email, and there was a whole series of emails from one of the things I'm tasked with, besides doing First Tuesday, is tomorrow morning I'm to be picking up a couple of monks, Ajahn Chunda and a new Thai monk. He's an Ajahn, but he'll be new to Abhayagiri. It'll be his first trip. They're flying in tomorrow morning. So then get this, and so they were leaving. They left. So they left Bangkok. The flight goes from Bangkok to Taipei, Taipei to San Francisco. So then I get this whole flurry of emails. Ajahn Chunda and Ajahn Gai is his name. Ajahn Gai were in the airport in Taipei, and there was a big earthquake, 7.5 earthquake in just off the coast of Taiwan, and Ajahn Chunda said it was the worst earthquake he's ever been in. And they got out into a more central area where there was less glass breaking, and so it was, dramatic, and then it sort of was the and are they going to be? And he said, I have no idea whether the flights are going to go out or not, or what. And then there's more email. Well, they're calling us for boarding, so I guess things are okay. And I hadn't, by the time I came over here, I hadn't seen whether the flight had taken off yet or not. But it looked like it was. They were announcing that it was going to depart on time. So, not a sure thing. It's the uncertainty of things. So, but it. Check the news. It was a big earthquake. So that just on an ordinary occasion, ordinary day, things are, really are changing. They really are inconstant. They really are unsure. And to be able to allow that into the heart and not just make it into a intellectual concept, but how does it feel? Because I think that's one of the brilliant uses of Ajahn Chah's iteration of say, anicca as uncertain, unsure, is because it's not objectified, it's more subjectified. It's how you feel, how it makes you feel, and it's important. Because that's saying just in terms of say like the elements as a contemplation is not so much about how you classify things on a physical level and make everything line up in terms of the periodic table of chemistry. It's how do you experience it? Because that's the doorway into liberation that the Buddha gives us is through that window of experience. And certainly then the overarching theme of his 45 years of teaching and 2,500 years of the Buddha's dispensation is he said over and over again, I teach only two things, suffering and the ending of suffering. He's not trying to fix the world. He's not trying to come up with a watertight, airtight philosophical system. He's trying to give the tools to allow us to end suffering, to live a life, because that's the biggest problem of human existence. Being born and dying, that's not such a big problem. It's going to happen anyway. We're already born, processes in place. We've already volunteered for our death. We don't know when it's going to come. But in the meantime, how do we experience our life? How do we live our life? Do we live a life of well-being and clarity, or do we create confusion and stress and suffering? And we've got this opportunity to free the heart from the ways that we create suffering and live with suffering. And suffering in the sense not that we have to be weeping and beating our breasts and tearing our hair out and, oh, woe is me, I'm suffering. It's just the sense of dis-ease, discontent, dissatisfaction, it's just stress. It's a really, Ajahn Jeff translates dukkha as stress. It's a really brilliant translation, because that sense of how the mind isn't quite settled, isn't quite content, isn't quite at ease. So that and it displays itself in very minor ways and in very major ways. But how do we deal with that? And of course the reality that these tools that the Buddha gives us are for freeing the heart from its dukkha and sort of living in a way that this whole path of practice that the Buddha gives is one of sila, samadhi, panya, of virtue, and so that quality of virtue and integrity lays a foundation for a positive self-view. Actually, how do we care for ourselves? And one of the foundational ways is just through our relationship with our virtue and integrity. One can always feel good about oneself when one is really clear that one has lived with integrity, and whatever anybody else says, we know ourselves, in both ways. I remember Ajahn Chah one time sort of saying is, sometimes people, when their relationship to their precepts is anybody looking? And they forget, they say, well, nobody's looking, nobody's around. But there's when they think nobody, they don't count themselves. We're always watching. We see what we do. We see what we have to experience it. So that just learning how to look after ourselves and be the witness to ourselves. And it's what we are doing anyway. So that sense of establishing a quality of virtue and integrity. And of course these basic virtues of generosity and kindness, these are universal qualities that both make us feel happy and comfortable in our hearts, but also bind us to each other as human beings in a really warm and trusting way, living together with a sense of trust, a sense of ease, and developing the qualities of mind that allow one to have this continuity of awareness and attention, rather than being distracted and scattered and the mind proliferating about everything. Being able to be content with this present moment, being content with the breath coming in, the breath going in, being content with whatever's happening around. There is the meditation element, that one is content with the object of meditation, but then there's a contentment that we bring into each moment and allow for a stability and steadiness and solidity within ourselves. We have an anchor. The refuges in Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, these are classic, but it's also taking refuge in the qualities of the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, the qualities of wisdom, compassion, purity that exemplify the Buddha, the refuge of truth, and the refuge of Sangha is refuge in virtue and integrity. Those are qualities that just having those refuges that we rely on and we grow into and we embody. So these are that living with wisdom, living with discernment, living with clarity. This is the way out of dukkha. And so that's what I've been doing those past 3 months, back to basics. And I just found it very, very, very fruitful, very satisfying. So I'll offer that for reflection this evening. Give the opportunity for a couple questions, if anybody has a question. Andrew.
Okay, so there's several things that came up. Let me see if I can remember all of them. Okay, the night that the Buddha became, enlightened.
Yes.
And he's sitting under the Bodhi tree. Would he have been practicing mindfulness of the breath?
Well, actually, at that point, probably that was his main focus. He doesn't say that, but there are discourses where the Buddha alludes to the fact that mindfulness of breathing was his primary. Like there's one in particular where the Buddha goes on, I think it's like a 3-month solitary retreat in the monastery, and he tasks Ananda with bringing his food each day. He doesn't go out on alms round. He's really okay. And then he asks Ananda a rhetorical question. If somebody asks you what the Buddha is doing while he's in retreat, solitary retreat, how would you answer it? And of course, Ananda says, well, I don't know, please, how would I answer it? And he says, you can say that the Tathagata, the Buddha, is doing mindfulness of breathing. So I'd say, so yeah, even the Buddha as a fully awakened being many things he could be doing, mindfulness of breathing was a primary importance to him.
So that puts you in good company if that's your favorite.
Yes, it puts me in good company.
If I may, or I don't want to walk over other people's questions, but I know another one that came to mind was, okay, the monks that are in Taiwan, and they're emailing you, giving you status reports. Does this mean that they're carrying smartphones around with them in their bags?
Ajahn Chunda definitely has a smartphone.
So monks are living in the...
We do live in the 21st century.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, kind of going back to your theme of like happiness leads to good meditation or whatever.
Yeah.
I have a pretty good schedule as far as I wake up in the morning and do some stretching and meditate for an hour.
Mm-hmm.
But I found myself having stretches or periods of time, including now, where I wake up and I'm immediately like, oh no, I gotta meditate for an hour, and I do it.
Yeah.
But I just feel like sometimes it's hard for I hear a lot of teachers talk about consistency, you should practice through whatever, but also I kind of feel like it might not necessarily be healthy to dread it right when I wake up. And that doesn't mean meditation always goes terribly, but I just for some reason I think that it's going.
Yeah, a lot of it is. You have to. I wouldn't sort of give up on the meditation. So doing it, getting that consistency is great. But I would, really pay attention to how it's feeling in the sense of, okay, I'm making this into a chore, rather than, gosh, I've got the opportunity to meditate for an hour this morning before starting my day. Isn't that wonderful? So finding ways to lighten it, or and sometimes picking up different themes for exploration, like using more discursive meditations, where you're exploring loving kindness, where you're exploring 32 parts of the body, where you're exploring anicca, dukkha, anatta, where you're exploring the analysis of the sense bases and the five aggregates. So that not on an intellectual level, but on an experiential level, and then seeing what happens. And also that this is where the traditional recollections, meditations, recollection of the Buddha, recollection of the Dhamma, recollection of Sangha, recollection of generosity, recollection of virtue, of sila, recollection of the devas. These are in the suttas. There's 6 classic, more discursive meditations that turning the mind to, which tend to be brightening and kind of making the mind a bit happier. So giving a bit of, letting the mind roam a bit under themes of Dhamma. It'll help a lot, I would think. Just a sec, you were next.
There was a mentioning of cell phones. There was a mention of cell phones.
Yeah.
What are your recommendations to use cell phone
Well, one of the things is there is an off button. What? Yeah. There is an off button. Learn how to exercise that off button. Also, like turning off one of the good things at Abhayagiri, we don't have cell signal there. We live in the bottom of a valley, so and America being America, its extensive infrastructure fails pretty quickly. So that's good for us. And then, and then, we tend to, there is Wi-Fi available, but it's also, it's password protected, and and once you leave that central area, then it doesn't work. And so that for us as in our community, then as soon as we leave that central area, and of course where we live, we don't have any access. So that's really helpful, just not having it available all the time. And it becomes a tool, and you're really respecting it as a tool, like you're using it as a tool for communication. Where, I find out because it's is the plane going to be on time? So, when do I get to the airport to pick them up? And so the basic things like that. So that using it as a tool rather than a distraction. You can use it. Like I've got, a tremendous amount of like the Access to Insight website and the Dhamma Talks website. It's just tremendous amount of Dhamma material available. Or the Sutta Central, just having those things offline. Although I don't have Sutta Central offline, but the others. So just having these to hand, so not having the phone on, like the actual signals on, but having information there, where you can look up suttas, and also just having access to like so many of the like Dhamma talks are available in a podcast form, and so you can listen to Dhamma talks. So using the phones are great tools. They're a great distraction also. Yeah.
Can you recount the 6 recollections that you mentioned?
Yeah, recollection of Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, generosity, sila, virtue, and recollection of the devas. And it's interesting how that one recollects the devas, not so much of trying to bring to mind what they look like in all their different realms, but that goodness that is the basis for that being to be reborn in that deva realm. That I have also accomplished, that also I have done. So it's a delighting in karma.
I just wanted to mention a recollection that I've used that has been very inspirational, and I think it falls within the 6 categories.
Yeah.
And I've used it throughout my almost entire, I can't remember when I used it, although recently I haven't
Oh.
used it, and so you've reminded me. It has to do with like female arhats, female
Oh, yeah.
beings.
Yeah.
And then seeing kind of like, it's a visual thing, seeing like a light
Yeah. Yeah,
at
yeah,
the end, like they're sharing that with me.
yeah.
And it's been a very powerful.
Yeah, I mean, that's a creative way to do, like the recollection of Sangha.
Right.
You know,
It's also the Buddha.
yeah,
And it's
yeah,
Sangha.
yeah. So that's it. Yeah, absolutely.
I guess I saw them more as nuns, but I don't even know if they are nuns, And
Well, it's just, they're Sangha.
right.
Yeah, it's sort of the realized beings who have realized beings who have.
Sometimes I almost feel like they go even before the Buddha, almost,
Oh,
Like it just.
the architect. Well, that's especially in the, it's one of the things that the Buddha said. Whether a Tathagata arises in the world or whether a Tathagata does not arise in the world, there is this fundamental truth that beings can be awakened to. So it's a powerful reflection. Yeah.
There's something else I wanted to say that I forgot, but I can share that. It's nice to hear you talk about that because I have never heard about those recollections, or at least about them.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and it's nice to think of different ways to inspire them on.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that doesn't get much press. Is we tend to put a lot of attention on how to try to shut the mind up. We don't put enough attention on how to use it skillfully. Yeah.
So speaking of that, I want to thank you for bringing the suggestion of the beautiful breath. Use that many a time because the breath feels very refreshing and good when you think about it. And so that's my. I don't know if I have a question or not, but I was wondering. I'm reading the Ajahn Nyala's book on the signless and the deathless.
Oh yeah.
And it's as far as the signless as not a nimitta. A nimitta is a sign, the
Yeah.
things that we experience. And so I was wondering, is there I don't know if I've ever heard that really talked about much in terms of the Theravada teachings. Are there other ways that it might be taught that it may not be saying?
Well, it's actually pretty mainstream. It's both types of samadhi as well as types of release or emancipation, freedom. So that the animita samadhi, animita vimokkha, the signless, and that's accessed through this is the way it's described, through the perception and understanding of and penetration of impermanence. So that then the mind goes to the signless rather than to it sort of sees through impermanence. The apanahita samadhi, apanahita vimokkha are the desireless qualities of and sort of like cooling effect, but it's accessed through the penetration of dukkha, seeing through suffering, seeing through the unsatisfactory, so that then the mind cools and settles and goes to relinquishment of desire and craving. So it's and then the emptiness, sunyata samadhi, sunyata vimokkha, are are accessed through the understanding and penetration of anatta, of not self.
It was an interesting way. I remembered actually there's a teaching where the Buddha was as a young boy was seeing his father in the pasture, and
Yeah.
to jhana or some, and I reflected on me as a young teenager, and like on a Sunday morning where you don't have to do anything, and you're just kind of just sitting there, just okay, I'm gonna watch my eyes closed,
Yeah.
it was. And actually, it's been very helpful for me to learn to kind of, oh, I don't have to pay attention to what bothers me. I can just let go.
What a revelation.
Let go, everything's right, and then pay attention to what's gone.
Yeah. No, it's just really, because it's just so important to realize that we have that option to pay attention to was actually, what's beneficial, what's fruitful, what is not. And it isn't just sort of sweeping it under the rug because it's uncomfortable, but it's sort of recognizing that the mind can dwell in what is. We don't have to pay attention to all of the garbage that our mind spews out all the time. Okay, let's wrap it up.
You want to do a closing chant?
Yes, we'll do a closing chant. And maybe end with, from page 35. Chant on universal well-being. May I abide in well-being, in freedom from affliction, in freedom from hostility, in freedom from ill will, in freedom from anxiety, and may I maintain well-being in myself. May everyone abide in well-being, in freedom from hostility, in freedom from ill will, in freedom from anxiety, and may they maintain well-being in themselves. May all beings be released from all suffering, and may they not be parted from the good fortune they have attained. When they act upon intention, all beings are the owners of their action and inherit its results. Their future is born from such action, companion to such action, and its results will be their home. All actions with intention, be they skillful or harmful, of such acts they will be the heirs.
I have a few announcements. First of all, thank you, Martin, for coming down. Welcome back.
Yeah, good to be back.
It was, I know you had a wonderful retreat, 3-month retreat. It's nice to see you all back here for the remainder of the year.
Yeah.
So thank you. And is there any, on Saturday, there is a day-long with
Oh my goodness, yes. Yeah, I got a few announcements. Yeah, Saturday there's a day long with Ajahn Dhammo on, anybody remember the topic? Non-self, okay. Very good. Yes, yeah, great theme. Back to basics. Okay, so Saturday at Spirit Rock, that's a day long. And so, yeah, plug in, it's not that far. And then 14th is Thai New Year, and there's always some nice ceremonies for that. But then after the ceremonies for Thai New Year are wrapped up, then there's a bhikkhu ordination. We have a novice who is ready to take his bhikkhu precept, so he will do the ordination after that, and people are welcome to witness that if they wish. Then on the 27th of April, Ajahn Jayasaro will be at Abhayagiri, and there'll be, of course, there'll be a meal offering, and then there'll be we're going to do an alms giving ceremony for him on Saturday, so that he's just make an offering to him. He does all sorts of good things, and and then he'll get the afternoon. He'll be giving a talk in Thai, and then in the evening he'll be giving a talk in English. And he's going to be in and out of Abhayagiri starting, I think he arrives on the 24th or 25th or something. But he's set this a kind of ridiculous schedule for himself. So he's going to, I guess he arrives Wednesday or Thursday is, I think, an open day. So we'll get to take him around, show him. He hasn't been to the monastery for a while, since before COVID, so things have changed, things have happened. So I think he hasn't been since the 20th anniversary of Abhayagiri. But then on Friday, he wanted to go and see the new vihara out at Fort Bragg, which is nice. It would be great, give them some encouragement. And then Saturday, at Abhayagiri. Sunday, he wanted to go and see the new land that we have up in Humboldt County. So you do that. But that's that's a full day. 3 hours up there, 3 hours back. Then Monday, he wants to go and visit Jinchuan Jinwei in Redwood Vihara in the Santa Cruz Hills. So come down, have the meal with them. And then, because it's so close, he wants to go and visit Ayya Santusika at Karuna Buddhist Vihara, which was wonderful, but it's not that close. It's all relative. And then it's sort of, again, it's just because it's just across the way, across the bridge, he can go and visit Ajahn Mahaprasad in Fremont. So I think we've tried to explain to him that it's not quite that simple, but anyway, we'll see what happens. He's set a schedule. And then the next day he flies up to Portland to visit people up there, are the Portland Friends of the Dhamma, the Hermitage, and then to Seattle to visit Ajahn Nisappo and Ajahn Kovilo. So he's busy. But he will be at Abhayagiri for the 27th. Do you have announcements? Yeah.
Some final announcements. We have many books over here, so please help yourself. We have way too many. And we also have some in the boxes here that we haven't brought out yet. So please help us out and take a bit of the load off us. And you want to take any back with you?
No. Well, keep them down here. They'll slowly get distributed.
And also, just to remind you that for those who wish to practice Dhamma, we have a Dhamma basket in the back for the support of the Abhayagiri community. And for the support of this community that is so generous with us in so many respects. There's a Dhamma box over here as well. So, for those who, so please, for those who can't, stay behind and help us put everything away so we can
You can go home too.
go home. Again, thank you.
Okay, take care, everyone. Good to see you.